This is Abnormal Entertainment.
Ladies and gentlemen of the internet.
This is Steve's house.
Mr. Stevie Wonder. Mr. Stevie Wonder. Mr. Stevie Wonder.
It's the year of Living Stevie.
Mr. Stevie Wonder. Mr. Stevie Wonder.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Year of Living Stevie. I'm your host, Daryl Bean. If this is your first time joining us, thanks for being here. Welcome. Take a load off or whatever. If this is your second time, since this is our second show, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. I think we got some exciting things on the show today that you're really, really going to enjoy. It's kind of a weird day, to be honest with you. It's Thursday when I'm recording this, and if you're a Michigan music fan, or even if you're not, even just a music fan in general, of course, you're probably aware of the death of the singer from Soundgarden, Audioslave, and various other projects, Chris Cornell, which is really, it's kind of weird. It's kind of hitting me kind of weird. Chris Cornell just had one of those unique voices and this unique personality in music, and I'm really going to miss his voice and his outlook on things. So it was, and actually it just woke up this morning to that news. It was last night after the Soundgarden concert at the Fox Theater in downtown Detroit. So I don't know if you were at that show, if you noticed anything that seemed a little off or a little odd. I don't know. It's one of those things where in those positions you don't always know, because people are used to kind of putting on a sort of face for an audience. And one of the things is the reports are coming out that it's appearing that he may have committed suicide, which is especially hard hitting. It seemed like it would be a guy out there doing what he loves for a living, but you never know what's going on inside of somebody. So, one thing I thought of, I was really, my heart really goes out to Chris and his family, and wife and two kids, and I'm sorry that he had so much pain inside of him that he just couldn't do it anymore. That really, really hits close. That hits pretty hard. I've had people in my life, that were very, very close, that were struggling with those same sort of feelings. And it's not always easy to reach people like that, or easy to be the help that they need. But if you're one of those people that just feel that sort of, I don't know, intense sadness inside, all I can say is try and reach out as best you can. Talk to somebody, friend, family member, try and find some help, to help you cope with the pain that you're going through. And on the flip side, if you're a family member or a friend of somebody and they come to you with those sort of feelings, take it seriously and really listen and understand, or try the best you can anyway to understand where they're coming from, because it's not something that somebody comes to lightly. But we're gonna miss you, Chris. Rest in power, rest in peace. Wow, it's a heavy one.
We don't need to do fire. It's already burning red hot coal.
My guests today on the podcast are Emily Burns and Aaron Moskovitz, known collectively as Escaping Pavement. They're an Americana duo, and they've been doing all kinds of cool stuff. In fact, they just won a Detroit Music Award for their album The Night Owl, and are releasing, or maybe by this point have already released, their EP about the national parks, which is super cool. They'll be traveling all over the place in their new RV that they're going to talk about in the interview, and I interviewed them at my kitchen table, which I'm sitting at right now, actually, as I record all this stuff. It's just too damn hot upstairs to be stuck in that room, so I'm sitting at my kitchen table, which is where they were sitting not that long ago when we recorded this interview. So I hope you enjoy it. This is Escaping Pavement. Cool, there we go. All right, I'm here in my house talking to Escaping Pavement. How you doing, guys?
Good.
Doing well.
Very cool. Well, I made a mistake. I mentioned this in the Leaving Lifted podcast too, but I made a mistake with the Social Bandits where I didn't ever have them introduce themselves. So there's just 5 people talking, and if you're listening, you have no idea who is who. So I'm trying to make sure I don't make that mistake again. So if you take a second and just introduce yourselves.
Sure.
I'm Aaron Moskovitz.
And I'm Emily Burns.
And they are Escaping Pavement. Very cool.
We
So the style of music that you play, would Americana be a fair label on that, you think? Or do you
Yes.
have a genre that you've created for yourself? Or
No, Americana pretty well sums it all up because we don't really, some people say folk, some people say bluegrass, some people say country sometimes, but
Americana surrounds all of
Yeah,
that
it
in a way where we
encompasses-
don't have to say, well, folk, bluegrass, country, rock-ish.
very cool. So what brought you to that? Like as when you were coming up as teenagers, I'm assuming that's probably when you kind of found that style of music, or was it later, or?
I think it was later,
Yeah.
with the exception of maybe some things like the Allman Brothers Band that hinted at that. But earlier on, it was maybe more into blues rock and
it was very into blues rock.
electric guitars. Very into blues rock.
Very.
We were both guitarists, blues rock guitarists. And after a certain point of playing music for so many years, we started to slowly acoustic instruments started to kind of filter in with our first record as Escaping Pavement, which was in 2013, right?
Yes.
Kind of started out as a rock record, and
like
then
Southern rock band.
yeah, and then toward the
Almost.
end, there's a song with a mandolin on it, and a banjo, and then near the end of that record, we went, well, what if we, kind of went more in this direction? I think I like this.
Our evolution has been very long-winded.
Yes.
No, it's great though.
Yeah.
So when you were describing your first record, it sounds like the first sort of iteration of Escaping Pavement was sort of like a full band, right?
It was,
like,
yeah.
with a drummer and a bass player and
Yeah.
that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then as time has gone on, it sort of morphed into a duo instead.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah. Out of necessity, it kind of turned into a duo for, ease of being able to travel and
Sure.
get around more and get more gigs, things of that nature. And once it turned into the duo, it kind of just lended itself even more so to the more acoustic-based music and the Americana genre. So we just kept going with it, and it worked. It's worked so far. It's worked pretty well, so I think we're probably going to stick with it finally and not change genres anymore of what kind of music we're doing.
Maybe we should talk about the Winnebago. That'd be kind of cool. Or I don't know if
Yeah,
it's even
yeah.
a Winnebago.
It's a
but-
Jayco.
A Jayco.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's a
so
Jayco.
so you were talking a little bit about how the evolution of the group coming down to a duo has made it easier to travel. And one of the things that was kind of really interesting is that as I've gotten to know you a little bit and paid attention to the things that are on your social media feed, is that you bought an RV.
Yes.
We did.
we bought a 1985 Jayco.
Hitting the big time.
Yes. And we're kind of in the process of doing some renovations and fixing it up and making it so we can just hit the road. The goal is, pretty continuously for maybe the next couple of years and just try to play as many shows as we can. And we figured maybe that'll make it
Make life easier.
make it a little easier and not try our previous touring rig is a Pontiac Vibe hatchback. So
It's a big
you know,
upgrade.
yeah.
It is a big upgrade.
Yeah, my back started to
Literally.
hurt, sitting in that seat for 12 hours and then have to drag all your gear up to a hotel room.
Yeah.
And, spend
Playing Tetris every night after a gig.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
fitting every inch of space full of
Yeah.
some piece of equipment or luggage or.
Although we became really, really, really efficient at packing.
And the gas mileage was great. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a
so
big
there's
difference.
positives. Yeah.
The Tetris thing it's really a thing.
It is.
I played downtown, and the one band I played with, I played saxophone and I played keyboards and stuff, and we were playing at this hotel with valets, and they're really trying to be helpful, but they're like throwing stuff in the trunk, and I'm like, no, you can't do that. It's
Yeah.
kinda like, and I'm trying to explain to them.
It has
like,
to go
Yeah.
in a certain
It's the only way it'll
certain
fit.
way. Yeah.
You have to envision it beforehand and then start layering the items in whatever way they will maximize the space.
Right.
It's like normally I'm a pretty nice, polite guy, but like Angry Daryl had to come out a little bit and be like, stop it, don't do that anymore.
I'm just going to have to drag all this stuff out and repack it. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm not getting out of here any faster because I'm going to have to repack it.
Yeah.
It's funny because people always ask, well, a lot of times when you play a gig, people ask at the end too, be like, can I help you? It's like, no, it's okay. I'm good.
Yes,
I got
it's
it.
Yeah.
cool, really.
Don't worry. I know it'll happen faster. You think it'll happen faster if you help, but then once it gets to the car, I still have to put it in anyway, so it's good.
Don't worry about it. Yeah. Yeah, it's
good.
interesting. We were chatting a little bit when you first got here, and we were talking a little bit about RV culture. And I'm wondering if there aren't some similarities between RV culture and the culture when you play at shows where it's kind of like an Americana show. Because usually, there are individual shows, but there's also a lot of festivals that go on during the summer.
Yeah.
Like Hoxeyville and
Right.
things like that. So I'm wondering if there's any similarities to that kind of like RV culture that we were talking about, that sort of
I'm
everybody
sure.
has everyone's back.
Yeah. I feel like
Yeah.
there is a music festival kind of culture that goes on
Definitely.
with, people go to these things every year, and they probably get to know each other, and things like Wheatland and
Yeah.
festivals like that. People have been going for years, and I'm sure that there's
Decades.
Yeah, decades. Yeah, a lot of these.
They're
We'll be at
lifers.
Nor'easter. Or wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nor'easter up north in Mayo, and we plan to have the RV and camp, and maybe one of the first trips with it's going to be up there. So we'll see how that goes. That'll be
Fingers
our up
crossed.
north test drive trip.
Yeah.
Sure, we'll make it.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's the scene like? I have to admit that I'm as a saxophone player and like a keyboard player, that I haven't had the opportunity to play in a lot of bands in that style of music, in the Americana genre. I did play with a band called Annalise Company from
Okay.
Ann Arbor for a while.
Oh,
with
I've heard of them.
Colin Murphy
Yeah.
and Adam LeBeau and what have you. And it was always like, it was fun, but it was hard for me because being a saxophonist, it's like a whole different language.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like they would
Gotcha.
throw me a solo in some like two-step. And I'd be like, I don't even know what are you doing to me? What do I do?
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
But I know there's a lot, when I was in Annalise Company, that there was a lot of sort of camaraderie between a lot of different bands in like the Ypsi area and Ann Arbor that were in that style of music. So is that something that you've experienced too?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very burgeoning scene right now, I feel like, in general, across the whole country and even on a national level, that it's becoming more and more popular every year. There's the Americana Music Conference that happens every year in Nashville at the end of September. And I think even just in the last year, they had their attendance grow by over 100,000 people. So that's a pretty strong growth rate for...
Wow, 100,000 people?
Yeah,
Wow.
100,000 person difference from last year to this past year.
That's enormous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's been growing at a pretty steady rate. And there are, people who are considered to be a part of that scene even now. People like Sturgill Simpson are, now they're being nominated for Grammys and they're making their way into mainstream. And people are saying, I don't even know who that is, but
Right.
there are a lot of people that do know who that is now, thanks to the resurgence of Americana music. I first heard him playing at the Americana Music Awards conference in September, like 3 years ago. And I remember hearing him play on there, and I was like, who's that?
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's funny because people talk about him like, oh, there's this new guy, Sturgill Simpson. And I'm like,
Yeah.
he's got like 5 albums. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
he's
Yeah.
not new.
Yeah.
New to you.
Yeah.
I try not to be too judgy, but
Yeah.
a little judgy.
Yeah. It's nice, though, that people like him, and there's a lot of other folks, too, that are finally getting more attention from people interested in all different kinds of music that weren't really aware maybe of the more rootsy kind of music that's making a comeback. So I'm glad to see it. And
I'm interested. What do you think as performers and people that, not only do you perform that music, but you also love it too. What do you think is driving that resurgence? Everything's got a pendulum effect, obviously.
Yeah.
But what do you think is driving that?
I think it's a little bit of the history repeating itself. People are getting really tired of everything being made by a computer. It's like, well, you can see it with fashion styles. Things repeat themselves. It's just kind of it seems to be the way that it goes. So I think with music, we're finally getting to the point where it's like the technology age boomed, and then we started getting all these digital instruments coming around and these electronic sounds being made. And while that is still really popular right now and it's doing really well, there is a very large group of people, I think, that are very tired of it and don't want to hear it anymore. And they want to hear real instruments played by real people that have been working on trying to learn how to play them for years and are making a craft with that instrument or their voice, And I think that's probably the biggest driving force of it, is people wanting to get back to something that has more of a human aspect to it.
Yeah, an authenticity, to it as well.
You can't get from hitting a MIDI clapper or something.
Yeah, one of the things that I notice, having been kind of plugged into music since I was probably 10 or 11, when I got like I don't know if I got a subscription or if it was just buying it off the rack, but I was buying Rolling Stone magazine, and I got really just in depth, involved in, who's playing and what's going on. And one of the biggest changes that I feel like I've seen in my lifetime in being involved in music is that I felt like for a long time people were really chasing a sound, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like they were really trying to distinguish themselves by making a really, really unique sound that's their sound. And that was a tradition that I felt like from the late 60s on into, maybe the 80s or slightly into the 90s or something. There was this kind of like individuality was really important and really, people cherish. Of course, there was a lot of crappy music in all of those eras too, but that the standout musicians from that era were really trying to distinguish themselves. And one of the things that I feel like has happened in the new century, and it might just be me being old or something, I don't know, but that like that sense of individuality is disappearing. I don't know if it's like a thing where like my parents would have said that about the music I was listening to. It all sounds the same. But like as a musician listening to music that's being created in like the last 10 or 15 years, there's a lot of homogenous.
I feel like it's certainly in the mainstream, and I feel like in that time period you're talking about, like the uniqueness was in the mainstream as well, and now there's definitely something missing from that mainstream music.
Big time.
That makes it very different from any, from
one
anything.
song being different from the next.
Yeah, it's
really
like very
not.
formulaic or
it is
very formula-driven kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like,
a lot of the same sounds, the same, even a guitar sound or we need this sound because that's what people like.
Yeah.
Yeah, made by committee almost or something like that. It's really interesting. So I could see that a genre where you are basically relying on your gifts and what you have. Like you can't go buy a program, you can't go buy a plugin to play mandolin or to sing or whatever. That it sort of forces an individuality in a way, which is kind of cool.
Well, it forces you, I think, to be more creative with your own instrument as well, or instruments if you play multiple. It forces you to think maybe outside of the box of the things you've been hearing, the things that are influencing you personally as a musician. I think it drives you towards that uniqueness, and that's what music needs more of these days, for sure.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
Yeah.
So over the years, Escaping Pavement is kind of... And actually, let me back that up a little bit. It sounds like you've known each other for a really, really long time from the way that you were saying. How long have you known each other?
Well, we've known each other 13 years, right?
Yeah.
13 years,
At least
14 years, maybe.
Like 14.
Yeah. And we've been playing together in all different formats for at least 12. So, and Escaping Pavement has only been the last
Few
four
years, yeah,
of
4
those
years.
years.
So there's this whole other sort of back catalog
Yeah.
that you guys have
All
together.
kinds of other, lots of different projects.
That's fascinating. So, when you first met, where were you in your life? Were you in high school? Were you?
Yeah, we
High
were
school.
both in high school. He was in a band called Wall of Denial.
Okay.
I was not in a band when we first met. I was just wandering around playing at open mic nights all the time, and that's how we met. And then shortly after that, we both were in a band called Jazz Junk. And that was like a blues, rock, slightly jazz, fusion, confused band.
That sounds right about that time period.
yeah.
It's the confused band period.
confused band.
Confused
Yeah.
late teens band. That's
We
what
want to
that
have a
was.
rock, pop, jazz, funk, reggae,
Yeah, basically. It was a little bit of
R&B.
everything.
It's like, wait a minute, so I forgot what the first thing you played
Yeah,
was.
there was no direction whatsoever.
We're influenced by Django Reinhardt and Motown.
And then after that, we went to music school.
Oh, where'd you go?
We went to it's now called the Los Angeles College of Music.
Okay.
It's out in Pasadena, California. And
It was called the Los Angeles Music Academy when we
at the
went
time
there
that we
because it was
went,
just
yeah.
a
It was a 1-year program
Yeah.
when we went, and now it's morphed into an actual college.
bachelor's degree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We went for guitar performance.
yeah. And then we both really kind of turned into jazzy musicians at that time.
Yeah.
When neither of us really played in bands or anything, but we did. Well, I don't know. Did we? No, not really.
I had a gig that
Oh,
I got
you
after
did have a
school
gig,
out
that's
there
right.
at Universal Studios. It was like a regular, guitar gig. I was playing electric guitar and singing in the Shrek band at
Right.
Universal Studios.
Yeah, like a Disneyland gig.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And that was cool. That was like my first pro gig,
And then, well, after that was over, and after we had just gotten out of school, we were kind of working towards doing the Top 40s cruise band gig.
Okay. Yeah.
And then we started doing that
And we did. We did that for
for a
year.
couple of years with a band called the Rhythm Shakedown. Cruise line named us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, right?
Did you do the song Shakedown? Just out of curiosity.
No, we didn't.
No,
They
okay.
gave us a list of about 300 songs that they wanted us to learn.
What?
No.
How long did you have to learn them?
We had a long time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we were like making charts.
We didn't
for
learn all
of them.
300
No.
either. There were some that we just couldn't.
Some were just too cheesy. It
I was like, no, we can't do
unbearable.
this.
Yeah, they wanted us to, and it's no disrespect to some of these songs, but they're just not meant for a primarily more rock-based top 40s group
Sure.
like Evergreen. And
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
I don't know, other songs of that ilk. It was
Yeah.
just like, this is
Barbara
not meant for a
Streisand
rock
just
band.
was not our
No.
bag.
What?
So, yeah.
And like
yeah.
they were asking us to learn like Latin songs, even though there was a Latin band on the ship. So they they want me to stand up there and sing Guantanamera.
Do you remember the time when we?
A white girl from Michigan. When there's a Latin band that speaks Spanish on the
I
ship.
think they were from Dominican Republic or something.
Oh, okay. I
They-
can't remember where they were from.
Yeah, and they played like really good. Like they were really
They
good.
were really good.
They were legit. Like,
They were, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like,
do you
why do you
remember-
want us to do this? It's stupid.
We were walking around the ship one day, and every band that we were like listening to, like everybody was playing Guantanamera. Like
Yeah.
we heard it like from 3 different bands in the Centrum, and then in both of the club or on the pool deck or something. It's like, wow, everybody just played that song. Like it was time
It was
for
ridiculous.
that. I guess.
I
Yeah.
guess the CEO liked that.
Yeah.
I think so.
Gotta play that.
Guys are great, but I want to hear more of Guantanamera.
Yeah.
Makes people happy. Go do it.
Yeah.
So needless to say, we kind of molded the set list in our own way.
Sure. Yeah.
We tried some of the songs that they gave us as initial recommendations, but then we ditched a lot of them
Yeah.
right off the bat. But, we still did a lot of the, I don't know, any top 40s stuff you can think of that was more like pop, rock, from the last 30, 40 years. So it was kind of fun, you know. It was surprising that
Certainly
some of
a learning
that stuff
experience.
was more fun than you thought it would have been.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, because you're still playing music and you're getting
Yeah.
paid to
Yep.
make music, even
Yeah.
if it's not your own. You
Oh,
know?
yeah.
And, you know, you're seeing the world and all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's not too bad.
It was all right.
And then after we stopped doing that, we were back in Michigan, and we didn't really do much with music for a while. We were kind of like trying to figure things out, and then
That's when Escaping Pavement kind
Yeah,
of
that's when
started.
Escaping
We
Pavement
started writing
started.
for that first record when we were back off of the cruise ships,
Mm-hmm.
and that took a while. We wrote for a long time because we hadn't really written that much music up to that, you know, really
Yeah.
within the last 5 years, you know, is most of our writing. I mean, we wrote songs beforehand, but never enough to make a record or
anything you put out there in front of people.
yeah, I mean, it was,
Sure, yeah.
you know, in the early days of trying to write.
Every songwriter has those million songs you just crumple up and throw in the trash.
Right.
Yeah.
And hope that nobody ever sees.
Yeah.
In this Eagles documentary, as they were talking about that, where Bob Seger is kind of mentoring
Yeah.
Glenn Frey, a young Glenn Frey. And he's
Yeah.
like, well, you're going to write a lot of bad songs.
Yeah, yeah, it's just,
Kind of the advice you always hear. Like,
You have
Yeah.
to.
you're going to write a lot of really bad songs.
It's like, it's kind of like my favorite Dave Grohl quote about every band just needs to go into a garage and suck for a while.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
And
yeah,
then go out and start playing shows.
that's one of the things that, like, as you know, in my experience as a teacher, you know, working with young kids and, like, you know, kids that are teenagers and, like, in the middle school realm, is that, like, trying to encourage them to be shitty and
Yeah.
not worry about it. It's like, it's
Yep.
okay, just go do it, it's fun.
yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
just go have fun doing it, and
Yeah.
then you will get better.
Yeah.
But you don't have to be amazing right out of the gate. If you're
No.
trying to, like, be, we're going to go on TV and we're going to, like, be that thing, you know.
that
like,
takes. That didn't just happen for
Right.
them, you know. Those people you see out there, like, that didn't just, like, magically,
Yeah.
you know. Oh, they're great.
I
Well,
woke up one morning and I
years
was
of-
blessed with amazing talent.
what are you going to do today? I don't know. I'm going to go sing, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever. Oh, you know, like.
I'm gonna go write an album.
So that's always been like, and even with adults, it's hard to get them over that hump of, you don't have to be great. It's okay. Suck for a while. Everybody sucks for a while. It's okay.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
need to, as you're learning how to do it. You
Yeah.
know, that's one of the things that's kind of tough in culture now, is trying
Mm-hmm.
to get people to accept that.
Being okay with it, yeah.
Be all right with being not great for a
Yeah.
while at something. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting. So
Yeah, we've both done teaching as well, and some of the adult students were always the hardest.
yeah. I can't do that. It's like, yeah,
And what was it? It's an immediately like, no, I can't. Nope, my hand.
Yes,
Nope, my
you
fingers are
can.
too big,
I
or
swear you
something, or my
can.
fingers just don't work. It's like,
Yep.
well, they, you know, it takes a minute.
You have
Trust
to
me.
make them work. You can.
Yeah.
You can do this. But I guess it's harder I think it's even harder for adults to think, oh, it's okay if I suck at this for a while.
Right. Yeah, like there's more on the line or something.
Yeah.
Like the reputation is that. And it's some of my
Yeah.
favorite memories are when I was, 16 or 17 playing in my first band, and we're all plugged
Yeah.
into the same amp. We were horrible, and like we weren't terrible, but we were pretty bad.
Yeah.
I remember, like, we were actually, I was talking to a band, and we were talking about when we first started how, you have this weird idea that, like, if it takes you 2 hours to practice a set of songs, then it will, by logic, then take you 2 hours to perform them,
Yeah.
which never works out.
Yeah.
I remember my band was like that, where we got a 2.5 hour spot playing at a spaghetti festival in Pennsylvania, because I grew up in Erie.
Nice.
And so we were like, we're set, man. It took us 2 hours to play through all those songs. We're good. And then we got up, and I think we played everything in 10 minutes. And we're just kind of like, what do I do? And we had to kind of go back and replay. So I think we played Taking Care of Business like 13 times. It was like, were these people standing there? Nope. Okay, we're doing it again.
It's that nervous energy that gets it, like, I know, especially with the younger kids, because I've seen it from teaching myself. It's like a boulder rolling down a hill once it gets started.
Oh, yeah.
Faster and faster.
Yeah. They get started and then they're like, okay, I'm into it now. I'm okay, let's get it over with. Great, ready? Let's go.
It's so exciting, I know right now.
Yeah. It just keeps getting faster and faster and faster, and you're like, oh my goodness.
It's like, I now understand how the Ramones' first record is only like 20 minutes long. I get it.
Yeah. They were probably just so excited to be recording, and then it was like, guys, we're in the studio.
And
We're in the
speed,
studio.
but you know.
Yeah. Speed.
That too.
Speed will do it.
But also excitement.
Yeah.
The combo of the two was somebody pushing the boulder down the hill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. A little bit of help. You know, a little speed lubrication for the, for the boulder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. So it sounds like there was a certain point where you were kind of on a track to be kind of like commercial musicians, if you will, you know, like
Yeah.
where it wasn't so much about taking the leap of making your own music, more, here's a way that we can make a good living
Yeah.
Yeah.
playing music,
Yeah.
right? Which,
Yep.
you know, is completely honorable as well.
Yep.
What drove the choice to switch from that pathway, the sort of commercial pathway, to let's take a risk, let's throw ourselves out there and write our own music and do our own thing?
I feel like it was. I feel like we got frustrated at a point with trying to. We didn't want to live on a cruise ship anymore. We were offered more
Yeah.
cruise ship gigs, and they paid, and they went cool places, but we didn't want to live that life.
It's a very different lifestyle.
So we tried to do something similar at home, and I feel like after a while just got frustrated with, you know, not being able to break into it in a way, and just figured, well, is this really worth it? Is it really what we want to do, or do we want to write? You know, we want to be recording artists and write music, because we had started to write music, and it seemed like something we really enjoyed.
Well, we had written music with we had written music back when we were teenagers as well, and we had played it out with our confused high school band.
Yeah.
We both
But
had.
Yeah,
so-
but it's something we kind of left for a while, and like you said, went to make a living. And,
Yeah.
you know, play maybe play corporate gigs or something, you know, at
Yeah.
those things. But like I said, I just think it was kind of got detoured from it, just as a, like, you know, no, this isn't really happening. Let's just write
we
music.
kind of got burned out on the whole hired gun thing pretty early.
Yeah.
So we were just like, you know what? This isn't something I'm really enjoying anyway. So it's like, if I want a job that I don't like, I can just go get a job somewhere else.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
and not have it attached to music, which is something that I like, you know?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That does make a lot
So
of sense.
we were like, if we're not going to do this and make it something we really like to be doing, there's really not much point in doing it. So I think that kind of was what precipitated the whole change. So, well, why don't we play our own music and see what happens? So it's been a slow evolution from there, but now we're pretty happy with doing it, and I don't think we'd ever go back to being the hired guns.
Schlepping out corporate gigs and stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We still like to do, I mean, obviously, you know, those gigs you have to do 3 sets. We play a lot of covers, but now the covers we play are done in a way that we, you know,
We rip them apart and put
Yeah.
them back together in our own way.
yeah. So they're really nothing like you're gonna go hear
Yeah.
on a record, or, you know, verbatim. So, you know, it's fun to do that, and it's kind of a challenge with our instrumentation to take some of these songs and make them into something our own. But that's, you know, but on top of that, that's been more fun. So that's the kind of cover songs that are, you know, kind of rewarding to come up with.
Very cool.
Wow.
Very cool. I think my beloved daughter is out on the porch, so I'm going to grab her real quick.
Oh, okay.
Why? She's talking.
Maybe she doesn't like super hot snacks, so she wants breakfast. Oh.
It's only the second time I've ever seen Takis.
Yeah,
Takis?
They're delicious,
I
but
just
they're painful.
said. I know.
As I've gotten older, my tolerance for hot food has gone
Down.
down.
Really?
My enthusiasm hasn't. My tolerance.
We We have some friends that play in an old time string band, and they do this song where they like pass out Takis to everybody in the audience, and then they like have these breaks playing in the song, and then they have them all take a bite of the Taki at the same time.
Really?
Yeah, that was really cool.
That's pretty
funny.
interesting.
Yeah.
I would like to see that. That would be
Yeah.
great.
It's funny. That was the first time I'd ever seen them. That's the second.
You know?
They're amazing, and like I said, they're
Yeah, I had no idea what they were until a couple months ago.
So what do you think that having played together for so long, and also and being together in other facets of your life too, do you feel like that it's made it easier, or that it's been tricky to be like a musical duo? Because sometimes that works really, really well, and sometimes there's some challenges that go on in it too. Is there like?
I definitely think it's made it easier.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, just really knowing pretty well, kind of telepathically, what the other one's doing or where they're going musically has definitely made it easier, because we've probably every musician has experienced it. You can play with certain people and you just never kind of develop that connection. It's like it's kind of always like trying to push two of the same magnets together, it's just like always pushing off of each other and not really working. So with us, I definitely think there's a good connection that was always there, and it's just only gotten better with time. And then that's made playing together easier because of the fact that we don't really have to necessarily always discuss every single tiny detail, facet, aspect of anything to sound like we're playing together.
Yeah.
And like, oh, that was planned. It's like, wait, no, it wasn't, but that's okay. It worked.
Glad you thought so.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. How about you, Aaron? How do you feel about it?
I certainly think I have a lot of the same thoughts about it. But I think as far as being vocalists and singing together all the time, certainly makes for, and doing it for so long, a lot of the times after a show or something, people will ask us a lot, like, how long have you been playing together? And we'd say, well, we've been playing together a long time. And you're like, oh, you can really tell. So that's a cool, always nice to hear that, because it's kind of just saying, to me saying like, oh, it was really tight, and I think it's, at this point, there was a point early on when we both always sang, but we didn't sing together so much, and now that's become kind of a key element to what we are. And I feel like that's developed over time and kind of become, in a way, a bit more effortless to craft a vocal melody together. Instead of really having to sit there and work it out over and over again. I think we can kind of map out where we're going before it actually happens,
Yeah, that makes sense.
And at this point, just after years and years, it's just kind of gotten to the point where it just comes more naturally, which certainly is, it helps in it, and that's probably a positive about, being together in more than one aspect of life. For traveling, we travel together, and that can be tough in other situations too. I always hear about touring and stuff is kind of difficult, which it can get sometimes as well with just the two of us. But it certainly frees us up to do a lot more musically, and then a lot more just gigging wise. We can kind of go wherever we need to go.
We rarely feel the need to kill each other while traveling.
No, yeah, rarely.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I think the thing that would be really helpful is that there's this mutuality where you're in the same boat. You're in it together,
Right?
Yeah.
And you thrive or not on your own sort of on how well you work together.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That works out really, really nicely. Do you feel like? Is there ever a point where there's gonna be like an Aaron Moskovitz like electronica album or something like that? Like I've got my solo thing that I gotta do or something like that? Or
I don't know. I kind of sit around and just play, sit around, noodle on a guitar or mandolin and write music, and then whenever I'm kind of writing something, I find myself going, I wonder what Emily would think about it or something, because like I can complete a song and I feel like it's done, but it's not done yet. So I feel like we bounce off each other in that way too.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But down the road, I don't know. I mean,
Who
yeah,
knows?
Or maybe
to
Emily's
make
got a hip hop album in her or
Right.
something like that.
It's, yeah,
Oh, I know she's got a hip hop.
I started
album.
working on it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
already. We got like 3 songs.
Yeah.
I just didn't tell you about it
I
yet.
know.
That's all.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yep.
That, the
Emily Burns' new hip hop
2020.
project, 2020.
It's dropping.
Wow, that's gonna take.
Cash me
It's
outside.
gonna take a while.
Yep.
Man,
Save
Well,
the date.
good things, take time. So
she's still producing her beats.
Yep.
yeah.
That's what I've been hearing looping in the
Yeah.
other room
Yep.
past months. You're
Yep.
vibing on some beats.
Yep.
Trying to get some beats together. Well, I guess since this is a Stevie podcast, it might be good to morph into some Stevie-ish talk. So
Yeah,
the 2
sure,
songs
sure.
that we're doing, we're going to hear you do Pastime Paradise, which was your pick.
Yes.
And then I asked you to do For Once in My Life, which is one of my all-time favorite songs and also a fiendishly difficult song.
It
I was
is.
actually sitting down and trying to learn it, and I'm like, oh my God, what did I do to them?
It's
So,
okay.
so talk about a little bit about Pastime Paradise. Like what caused you to pick that song, or what about it?
Well, that song is probably the reason why we're here, honestly, because of the fact that where that song came from or why we started doing it was we played at Detroit by Detroit, which is the event we met the Social Bandits at.
Right. Was that the
And-
one where they were Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels? Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was 3 years ago now. Yeah, 3 years ago now, because they just did their 3rd one since we've found out about them. Or the Detroit by Detroit event, not the Social Bandits. But in any case, that first year that we did Detroit by Detroit, we decided to cover Stevie Wonder because we were looking at the lists of all the other people that had been covered by the other Detroit artists, and there's a lot of redoing the same people over and over again, and we were like, we don't want to pick someone that a bunch of other people have already done more than once. We wanted to pick somebody that's never been done by anyone else at one of those events, and Stevie Wonder was one of the ones that hadn't been tackled yet,
Wow.
oddly enough. So we were like, why not?
I feel like we also wanted to pick something completely out there for a duo, for like a
Yeah.
folk bluegrass duo to it's like, wait, what are they gonna do with Stevie Wonder? Like,
Yeah.
are they,
Yeah. We kind of figure, like, the further away we are from the further away our own genre is away from the type of music that we're covering, like, if they can be as different as possible, the better, because then that removes all expectations of people having any idea what we're going to do with it.
Right. Yeah. It gives you kind of an open palette
Yeah.
to work with.
Whereas,
so.
if, like, we were an R&B band and we were going to cover Stevie Wonder,
people would want to be hearing those parts
Yeah.
verbatim and like, oh man, they didn't, they
People
kind of
would really
missed
wanna
that
be
mark
hearing it
there,
like it
or,
is.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
and because that's those songs are a bear, so
They
like
are.
you said, there's a lot of
Yeah.
changes, there's a lot of instrumentation and
there's so much production
cool
on
synth
them.
sounds and groove going on.
Yeah.
So we, that the reason we, Pastime Paradise obviously was a song like that. But pulling that main theme out and playing it on a mandolin or something, or and then making it more of a old time sounding song.
More make it sound like a rootsy song.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
It's kind of what we did with it.
Right.
And the other 2 songs because we played 3 songs at that, we did As, and we also did I Wish. And we did I Wish with a baritone guitar and a mandolin,
Yeah, that was weird.
Oh,
which
interesting.
is cool. It was fun.
Yeah.
And that's why we picked Pastime Paradise. We kind of we both love Stevie Wonder. I mean,
Yeah.
we've listened to him a ton as, young developing musicians
There it
and
is.
all
It's-
throughout.
It's like I tell
Yeah.
people, everybody loves Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who they are or what they do.
No.
So.
So when we were kind of just going through his catalog, looking for different songs that would work well for this event, those were the 3 songs that we came to that like kind of upon initial listen, we were like, oh, I hear there's something here we can do with this, you know, kind of to change it around a little bit, but keep some of the things that people really know about that song. And we thought Pastime Paradise would just be fun too, because so many people think it's a Coolio song.
Right. Oh my.
So it's a very common misconception. So
You know,
it's just kind of funny to do that to people, and they're like, "Wait, isn't that a Coolio song?" It's like, no, Stevie Wonder.
It's kind of like, I'm still not sure if people were goofing around or not. Like when Paul McCartney and Kanye West worked together, and people were tweeting that Kanye discovered this old Paul guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? What?
Kanye made Paul big, or like he made him famous.
Yeah,
or
like,
something.
yeah, it's nice to just find this old, British guy and kind of bring him up,
Yeah, I know. Oh my God.
Sometimes the things.
Unfortunately,
people don't
I
know.
think that could be.
I think it's true.
I think people think this.
Yeah.
Some people think this.
I think there's still a flat part of my head from being. Well, very cool. I can't wait to hear it. So let's check out Pastime Paradise.
2, 1, 2. Been spending most their lives living in a pastime paradise. Been spending most their lives living in a pastime paradise. Been spending most their lives glorifying days long gone behind. Been wasting most their days in remembrance of ignorance, all this praise. Tell me who of them will come to be? How many of them are you and me?
Dissipation, race relations, consolation, segregation, dispensation, isolation, exploitation, mutilation, mutation, humiliation, confirmation to the evils of the world.
Been spending most their lives living in a future paradise. Been spending most their lives living in a future paradise. Been looking in their minds for the day that sorrow's gone from time. Keep telling of the day when the Savior of love will come to stay. Tell me who of them will come to be? How many of them are you and me?
Proclamation, race relations, consolation, integration, verification, revelation, acclamation, world salvation, vibration, simulation, confirmation to the peace of the world.
Been spending most their lives living in a pastime paradise. They've been spending too much of their lives living in a pastime paradise. They've been spending most of their lives living in a future paradise. Been spending most their lives living in a pastime paradise.
wow, that was super great. That sounds really cheesy. I'm going to have to do that. Wow, good job.
Although that was a pretty good reaction for not actually having heard us do
job,
it yet.
Well, right, yeah, it's sort of like just sort of anticipating, like,
Yeah.
oh, it's pizza, it's going to be good. Okay, so I asked you to play For Once in My Life, and probably for a lot of the same reasons that you chose Pastime Paradise, because it's a song that I don't know that anybody would necessarily associate with an Americana duo. So when
Definitely
you were
not.
hearing it, like, what were, like, give me some people where you were like, God, that asshole, what did he do to us? Like, what was
First
that
we were like, what the hell? What a stupid song choice.
I think one of the most interesting things about, because I hadn't listened to that. Obviously, I know the song well, and I haven't really listened to the song in a long time. But for some reason, one of the first things about it that jumped out, and what I was going to do with it, or what we were going to do with it, was the harmonica solo in that. And it's just so melodic, and it kind of lays in the same range as a lot of notes on the mandolin. I was like, I gotta kind of like at least outline, not note for note, but outline that solo, because it's such a melodic part of the song. It's like one of the first things that hit me when I started thinking about it again, and also that just the changes kind of move in a way that follow the melody.
The changes in that song are pretty intense. That's
there's
the
a
thing
lot
about
of
it.
there's a lot of changes.
Yeah, a lot of chords, a lot of modulation, a lot of
like leading tones
yeah,
sort of stuff. Yeah.
And a lot of extensions on all those chords, a lot of altered extensions. So it got pretty, just sitting down and looking at it. We have a chart actually that we made from when we were on the cruise ship of that song, because we used to play it.
Did you dig that back up? Did you find that?
I found it. I have it in my email still
Oh,
from when I
wow.
had to send it to people.
Jeez, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was. But I was looking at it and going, one of the first obvious things was like, well, there aren't many folk Americana bluegrass bands that play sharp nines, flat nines, altered and dominant chords, or dominant chords, yes, but it's so we decided to start kind of removing some of those and just trying to figure out a way to make some of that sound of the chordal movement happening without having all those what would really come off as sounding kind of like jazzy chord changes, you know?
Almost like removing, kind of like omitting some changes, not for the sake of not knowing or able to do it, but like just for the sake of
The sound.
that we're going to get out of it,
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, because the harmonics are going to be different on
Yeah.
some instruments than they are necessarily from like a full
Orchestra,
Yeah,
basically.
full orchestra, basically.
Strings and horns and
All that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
so we kind of, I guess in a way you could say we dumbed it down. This is going to be the very simplified version of For Once in My Life,
But it's still funky, right?
yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and it's still going to have those elements of. There's certain aspects of it that when you listen to the song, kind of really just stick out, and it's really people keep in their minds afterwards after having heard the song. Mm-hmm. Just like the original melody, like it's still there, even though we've changed most of the chords and kind of simplified the movement of them and the arrangement overall. And a couple other parts in the song too that people hear that and they go, oh yeah, For Once in My Life.
It's almost like that when you hear something and you don't recognize it right away, and there's almost like that opening a Christmas present feeling of,
Yeah.
oh, wait a minute, I know what that is.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
Before we get to the performance of that song, first of all, are there any shows? This is going to be on May 22nd. So are there any shows coming up in the very, very near future after that if people wanted to check you out, they could go see you?
Yeah, we will be doing a show June 3rd at 20 Front Street in Lake Orion. We're going to be releasing an EP, and the EP is comprised entirely of songs that have been inspired by national parks.
Oh,
So
cool.
it's called Wilderness Cathedrals, and Yeah, it's all songs that are about national parks. It's going to have our first instrumental tune on it that we've we've ever recorded. People are probably going to be like, "Why aren't you singing?"
Yeah, we haven't really. That is the first instrumental song
Yeah.
we've ever written.
Because people are always like, "Oh, I love when you two sing together," but
It's like they're the funny things where people don't sing.
yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes it
Instrumentals.
yeah, sometimes it doesn't happen. So, and we just thought it was a really pretty melody, so it deserved to be by itself just an instrumental tune.
Very cool. Yeah, and a great, great thing, like not only from a conceptual standpoint of doing a record based on the national parks, but also very timely,
Yes.
given things that are going on in the world.
Yep.
Without
Yeah.
getting too political, but
Right,
Yes.
right.
But yeah, given that people
Becoming important to recognize their importance.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So that's really
America.
awesome. That's great. And then 20 Front Street looks like a really cool venue.
That's a great
Very
room
cool.
and
I
a
haven't
great
been
place.
there yet. It's
yeah.
pretty. Is it relatively new?
Relatively new. Yeah.
Well, we did the very first,
We did one of the first shows
like
there,
one
and
of
it
the
was
grand opening shows there, and that was November 5th of last year.
Okay.
So it's like what 7-8 months, something like that. I
So
don't know at this
relatively,
point.
in the grand scheme of things,
Yeah,
it's been
it's
cool
pretty
seeing
new.
all these cool venues like Loving Touch and Otis Supply and 20 Front Street that are coming up that are kind of music focused.
Yeah.
Because there were a lot
Yeah.
of there was a period of time where it seemed like the rooms that were more
wasn't a whole
music.
lot.
Yeah, they kind of dried up.
Yeah.
Like Majestic had kind of closed, and
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
they'd kind of turned to more electronic, and they
Yeah.
didn't have bands anymore and stuff. So it's
Yeah.
been nice to see this sort of renaissance of cool music centric rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was at the Loving Touch for Detroit by Detroit.
Oh, okay.
And it was it's a cool room. I'd never been there before.
Yeah,
It's a really
nice.
Yep.
space.
It is, and it's a good place for Detroit by Detroit. We did it there last year. Because last year was the first time they had it there.
Yeah.
I think the year before that they had it at the Magic Stick,
Magic Stick,
and then
yeah.
the Magic Stick closed
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
to become an electronic venue.
Oh, that's what I was saying. Not the Majestic. That's the one I was
Yeah.
saying.
Magic Stick, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we did, I was playing in a band, and we did a New Year's show there when I was playing with Shotgun Soul.
Oh,
and it was
okay.
right when they announced that they weren't doing bands anymore, and people were just livid.
Yeah,
they're
people
like,
were
"What?"
not
You know,
happy.
So yeah, that's a great. I think are they starting to do bands again?
Yeah, they have. Yeah.
It's funny.
They realized the misstep. Not that there's
Yeah.
anything wrong with electronic music. Love
No,
electronic
but
music,
just because of the fact that that place had been such a iconic Detroit like rock,
Rock,
pop,
yeah.
funk
Yeah,
venue for
totally.
so many years, and then to just uproot that and turn it into a electronic venue.
Yeah.
Not surprised it made people mad.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, so it's cool that they're. I mean, like, yeah, I think you can have both. You can
Yeah.
Right.
be electronic, and you can also still have it open as a rock venue. So yeah, very cool, very cool. All right, well, if you had a period of time, say 30 seconds to a minute, to send a message to Stevie Wonder, what would that message be? What would you like to say?
Do you know what you would want to say?
Oh, geez.
I know what I'd want to say.
Well, go ahead.
I would say thank you for your wonderful compositions, your ability to endlessly stream chords together of any sort and type is just amazing and has probably changed the way a lot of people write songs forever. And it's pretty damn cool.
Pretty damn cool.
It is, yes.
It's amazing, really, listening to it. You're like, how did he get there?
Yeah, right? Yeah, he kind of like, I was thinking about how he kind of made the world safe to kind of incorporate the more complicated, sort of complex jazz chords and
Yeah.
Into
harmony.
pop music.
Into pop music.
Definitely.
Into- yeah.
Without Stevie, you wouldn't have Steely Dan, and you wouldn't have.
Right.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
you might have, but not. Maybe not. It's hard to say.
Yeah, who knows?
Making those crazy musical ideas more palatable for people that just want to listen to a good
mainstream.
song.
Yeah.
Of
Yep.
course. Yeah, and the importance of that obviously is very great. So.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, we're going to finish up with your performance of "For Once in My Life." So let's check it out.
1, 2, 3, 4.
For once in my I have someone who needs me, someone I needed so long.
Once unafraid, I can go where life leads me. Somehow I know I'll be strong. For once I can touch my heart used to dream of long before I knew. Oh, someone warm like you would make my dreams come true. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
For once in my life, I won't let sorrow hurt me, not like it's hurt me before.
For once I have someone I know won't desert me. I'm not alone anymore. For once I can say, this is mine, you can't take it. As long as I know I have love, I can make it. For once in my life, I have someone who needs me.
And there you have it, folks. I mean, how about that? That happened in my living room, for God's sakes, like feet away from where I'm sitting. I'm still a little mind blown, frankly, about that. That was some amazing, magical music making. Thanks so much to Aaron and Emily from Escaping Pavement for coming in, doing the interview, and playing those cool songs. In 2 weeks, on June 6th, we have Leaving Lifted, a Detroit area rock reggae band. Will be talking to us and playing a couple of songs. It's something. You just have to kind of hear the interview. It's a little out of control in some places, but it is also very informative, and you learn a lot of cool stuff. The drummer in Leaving Limited, Sean, that you'll meet in a couple weeks, is a walking encyclopedia of reggae music and knows so much stuff. And the other guys in the band aren't any slouches on that either. So just a lot of really great stuff in that interview, and the songs are amazing. You're not going to want to miss it. So in 2 weeks, Leaving Lifted. If you enjoyed the podcast, you can follow us on Facebook at Year of Living Stevie. That's the at for Facebook. I don't even know what to say sometimes with those. But if you look for the Year of Living Stevie on Facebook, you'll find our page, and you can follow us so that you can keep up to date with all the information. You can also follow us on Twitter at Living Stevie. Is our handle there on Twitter, or you can email if you have any questions, comments, or what have you, at livingstevie@gmail.com. gmail.com. You can also visit the Abnormal Entertainment website, and we have a page there that you can leave comments, download the podcast, all sorts of stuff like that. In the upcoming weeks, probably next week, we're going to start a little trivia contest as well, just to try something new. In the prize, we have some Stevie is the Truth stickers that are going to be coming in here pretty soon, and that's going to be one of the prizes. You can also purchase those stickers. We'll talk about that next week. But we'll have a little trivia contest that we're going to start next week on the show as well, so I hope you look forward to that. Thanks to Abnormal Entertainment for hosting, and we will see you next time. Stevie is the Truth. See you later, folks. Bye-bye.
Stevie Wonder.
Head to abnormalentertainment.com for all of our podcasts and blogs. Go to cinemaheadcheese.com for our movie reviews and news. Don't forget our YouTube channels, Abnormal Podcast and Cinema Head Cheese. Get us on Twitter, @AbnormalPodcast, and find all of our shows and Abnormal Entertainment on Facebook.
You've been listening to the Abnormal Entertainment Network.